Hello, and welcome to the Memoriam for the Daro Caro Pixar puzzle hunt. I'm Anthony from Cypher House Escape.
And I'm Nick from Absolutely Nothing.
In this video, we're going to break down some of our favorite thoughts, share some of our favorite moments from our solve of the Daro Caro puzzle hunt, and give the puzzle hunt a good send-off for all of the fun that we had solving it over the past several videos. The first thing to talk about in this video is how we structured the rules for our particular solve of this hunt. As is usually the case when solving archived puzzle hunts, it is a little bit tough to determine how the unlock structure would have worked for the original puzzle hunt, and so we kind of have to make one up ourselves. We decided to employ the randomization method of the spinning wheel, and I kind of liked that because in previous puzzle hunts that I've done on the channel, I tend to focus in on the puzzles that I know I'm going to like, or the puzzles that I know are going to take less time to solve. So I kind of liked, in this case, I liked the randomization wheel. I think it was cool to never know what puzzle I was going to have next for us to solve. But as for the general rules that we set out, for the previous series, the CMU puzzle hunt, I had to solve 2/3 of the puzzles in order to unlock the meta puzzle. And I think that for that hunt, that worked really well because those puzzles were harder. There were only 6 puzzles per meta, so I was really only skipping 2. That kind of felt right to me. Like, that felt like the right proportion. But in this set, I don't feel like 10 was the right number. Even though that's 2/3 of the 15 feeders, I feel like we maybe should have solved more. Okay, so the first puzzle of the hunt is the puzzle World Wide Web, and I think this was one of our shortest solves, if not our shortest solve. Oh, Ocean Exploration and World Wide Web were tied for our shortest solves. I think that this puzzle accomplished its mission, or at least what I assume its mission was, of being a really light, approachable puzzle. I think both the shorts accomplished this.
This was part of the shorts that Pixar made called Piper. It's a cute little short animated film. The theme of this whole puzzle was very short and cute as well. So
Yeah, it's fitting.
yeah.
So yeah, this puzzle was based off of various Chinese dishes, and I learned by reading the solution file that the 2 different pronunciations here, because we were unsure why there were 2 of them, one is written in Mandarin, and one is written in Cantonese pronunciations. So that's why there's 2 lines for each. But I thought it was an interesting application of putting these words into sentences that cause them to be essentially homophones of English words.
All I was pretty much going to say about this one is it was an also very nice short puzzle. I felt like the order from World Wide Web to this one was like the perfect order because they're both short puzzles that were more on the easier side, but this one had a little bit of a trick to it.
And once again, we're sticking with adorable, cute images of things. All right, the next puzzle is Charming but Cryptic, which was the very last puzzle that we solved. And for me personally, this puzzle gets my award for favorite puzzle of the entire hunt. I'm always a sucker for a good cryptic crossword, and this one was pretty approachable. But what really did it for me with this puzzle is I liked the slow unraveling of the treasure map, like noticing these faded arrows all around the page and figuring out that they traced into a big circle, crossed over the numbers, and that the arrows on the inside were for across and down, and then those answers filling in this poem. It really felt more like something out of a treasure hunt than something out of a puzzle hunt. And it's kind of a subtle difference, but for someone like me who's solved some of each and who's always done much worse on the treasure hunts than on the puzzle hunts, I thought it was fun to have a bit of a mini treasure hunt, something that I found was approachable. So yeah, for me personally, this one was my favorite, even though we needed a little bit of a push on the final riddle.
I'm not as much of a fan of cryptic crosswords as Anthony, probably just because they still scare me. Uh, but as I was going through this, there was a lot of cryptic clues that I was able to pick up on. Yeah, going through this, I was like, oh yeah, I can do that one, sure. So I don't really know which one's my favorite.
Okay.
It's my problem.
All right, next up we have Familia Tunes.
Yeah, like I just said, it's hard for me to pick a favorite because I just love this entire hunt so much. But right now, I'm looking at this one and saying it's my favorite, um, just because I just love the music aspect of it. I enjoy listening to the music and doing the little changing of the words and indexing. It was very clever.
I'm pretty sure they re-recorded every single one of these themselves
Hmm.
for this puzzle specifically. So that shows some dedication on their part, and it's always fun. I haven't gotten to do one of these on the channel yet. One of these puzzles where you submit what you think is the final answer, and then you have one additional task to do for the final answer. It's always in good fun, and seeing some of the clips afterwards are always humorous too. Actually, if we go
Yeah,
to solutions, do they have some? Yeah, there is actually a collection of the clips compiled. There's a link to it in the solution file. I'm definitely going to go through these and check out at least a couple of them for some of my favorite songs. Oh my gosh, Daro Caro even gave every single one a comment. That shows even more dedication on their part. Like, they listened to every single one of these, watched every single one of them, and came up with a comment. They even have awards in here. Best accordion performance. Next up, we have the puzzle Fireflies, which was a massive nonogram puzzle. Pretty fun puzzle. I of course love the logic puzzles.
something else that we should probably mention at some point, and I guess this is a good one to do it. While we copied this into Sheets, I do really like how they included these drawing tools for a lot of their puzzles.
There were a lot of puzzles where it was just really convenient to be able to grab this line tool that they have on here and just start tracing lines over top of stuff. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. Including this tool was a really fun thing and a really useful thing
Mhm.
for them to include. It's nice to give solvers tools that are going to help them out with your puzzles. So I think that's really cool that they did that. All right, let's move on now to Helium Capacity, which was an instance of us stumbling brilliantly into the eventual solution. Most of these clues were very easy to solve. We only stumbled because we were second guessing the ability to fit them in, mainly because we were, of course, missing the major trick to this puzzle of replacing the sound up with the word up. I do want to point out that in the title, up in capacity is italicized.
It really just came down to we were not using all of our clues and flavor text that we were given to try and solve this one. So that's why I think we struggled on it so much. But yeah, overall, it was a very cleverly designed puzzle.
Next up, we have Heroine's Journey. This was another fun one. This felt like a bit of a, like, if I was doing these in order, it started out a bit on the easier side with the shorts. So between the Cryptic, Familia Tunes, Fireflies, and Helium Capacity, this one feels like another, like, step back down. Like, I don't, like, if the intent was to do these in order, this one feels like a little bit of a step towards the, like, here's an easier puzzle, something that's more approachable. And I guess I'm saying I like how they seem to have staggered those.
Yeah, I would agree. This is probably another one that I'm gonna say is one of my favorite puzzles, mainly because I'm really good at word searches. So as we are doing it, I was like, "Hey, Anthony, here's a word. Here's a word."
Yeah, I
Um,
think I found maybe like two of these words, and otherwise I just let you find them and I was just marking them down.
the word searches and mazes are kind of like the two probably simplest puzzles that you can get to. You can probably give them to a kindergartner. And I always love it when puzzle hunts take just the two basic elements, the two puzzles that we kind of all started out on, and make a fun and interesting puzzle hunt out of it.
Next up, we have the puzzle Highway Patrol. Now, personally, Sudokus aren't one of my favorite logic puzzle types, but if I am going to solve a Sudoku, I prefer that it be a variant Sudoku. So I like when puzzles include interesting things like this. I think that it was a cool aha moment when we noticed that these highlighted cells were actually car numbers from the movie Cars and that the colors matched the cars themselves. That was a fun aha moment for me.
Mhm.
Math is math. This one was interesting. This is
Yep.
exactly the kind of puzzle that I would skip if I wasn't forced to roll, just because there's a lot of setup and a lot of direction that you have to kind of figure out before you can start working on it. But I'm glad that the random wheel picked this one for us to work on because I did have a lot of fun solving this and piecing together the interesting like clues that they give and kind of solving the logic puzzle and then getting the final answers.
Yeah, this one may have been one of my favorite puzzles on the hunt.
Must you pile the food sky high? They had a lot of logic puzzles in here, didn't they? I feel like logic puzzles are often kind of underrepresented in puzzle hunts.
But yeah, the Sudoku aspect of it, added with the skyscrapers again, another modified Sudoku for you, Anthony.
Yeah, exactly. Another modified Sudoku for us to solve with the skyscraper aspect added on to the Sudoku. I think it's fun to mix logic puzzles like that. It kind of feels like leveling up.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I learned a lot of the logic required to solve puzzle A, and I learned a lot of the logic required for puzzle B, and then somebody comes along and says, here's puzzle AB. It's really fun to kind of combine those multiple logic sets to work on something like this. Okay, that brings us to ocean exploration.
This was just another cute one.
Yeah, I agree. This was another cute one. I think it was easy puzzle for somebody to kind of pick up and just jump in on. Kind of lower intensity than some of the other puzzles that are surrounding it in the hunt. I want to just briefly shout out the what was probably the punniest answer of the entire hunt in scientific reef search. Reset due success.
So yeah, this one was very fun as well. I like cooking puzzles as well. I don't know why.
Cooking is, of course, the kind of thing that, when you think about it, it lends itself pretty well to puzzles because there's, like, instructions, there's usually, like, proportions and math and, like, a lot of features that kind of lend themselves well.
Yeah, and another thing I'm just going to shout out is it's really hard, I think anyway, to get clever words thrown into the steps as well, so that have rat in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very challenging to do, and then always being able to follow that up with the letter that we need for extraction of the final answer.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably something that wasn't as easy to do as, like, from a solver's perspective, we just go through and, like, control F rat and just, extract everything in a couple seconds. That's why I like doing these meta memoriam videos, is to point out things like that most solvers will probably just sweep through that. And yeah, I've personally never tried to hide rat H, rat U, rat N in a series of cooking steps before. I can't imagine that that's the easiest thing in the world to do. Good news, Nick. It's stargazing.
Aha. I have to admit, this is probably one of my favorite puzzles of the hunt. One of my favorite things to do in puzzle hunts is look up and research something that I never knew before. It's not common knowledge to know what stars are part of what constellations. There's just so much data associated with stars and the constellations that looking all of that up is a lot of fun to me.
And the connect the dots was a fun thing at the end of this too, but it was a fun realization when Nick said, "I'm getting a lot of stars in the same constellation back to back," and I was like, "Oh wait, it's connect the dots." On to transmission mission. Yeah, this was definitely the long puzzle of the hunt. Yeah, definitely the hardest part of this puzzle was looking up the various molecules at the top and then realizing that all we had to do to connect them to the bottom was to use the initials. Yeah, I was just about to say that maybe there should have been something in the flavor text indicating that we needed to use the initials, but there's a full-on sentence that says she's short on time, her first priority, ASAP. It's like screaming it in our faces. So yeah, just an instance of us overthinking, I think. In my opinion, I think this was the toughest puzzle of the hunt, but I still think it was completely fair in how it was done.
All right, and then the last one here is when one door closes.
This one feels like it was another like step into the lighter side. They probably wanted something to round out transmission mission, I would guess.
Again, a very visual puzzle. They did a nice job with the super fun and underlining that to get us to think of using San Francisco first.
Yeah, otherwise it was a pretty straightforward puzzle, I think. Nice way to round out the feeder round. All right, let's jump into the meta puzzle. I think the framing of the entire hunt is kind of Toy Story, and then there wasn't an actual like Toy Story puzzle. I think that was a really interesting approach. Toy Story is, of course, one of the like most famous, if not the most famous Pixar film. It's got to be the most famous Pixar film. So I think it makes a lot of sense to choose that as the general framing for the puzzle hunt, to kind of put it on in a special place.
I really like when meta puzzles feel like that. They feel like they're humongous, they are big, This one just it felt like a monster, and we kept on going to whole different like web links and everything. It was a lot of fun to trace it.
I agree with your perspective on that. I like it also when a meta puzzle feels like the culmination of everything that you've previously done. And there are ways to do that by just using the solutions. Like, I'm not saying that every meta puzzle should be a rehashing of mini versions of all the other puzzles, but
Mhm.
I do think that that's a really cool way to do it, especially for a smaller puzzle hunt like this. Finding all the Easter eggs was thematically appropriate and something that I've watched like videos on all the Pixar Easter eggs before, so it was a lot of fun to get to apply some of that knowledge a little bit. This felt like a very appropriate meta puzzle for the rest of the hunt.
Yep.
And that's something that is hard to do. It's really easy to make a meta puzzle that just feels too short, feels kind of like the other puzzles, like it's the same length, same difficulty. It's really easy to make a meta puzzle that overshoots, like you try to make it too hard or too complicated, and it ends up not really matching the tone of everything else. But yeah, so I think when you hit the nail on the head like this hunt did with this meta puzzle, I think that's really something special and pretty cool. So overall, I had a great time with this puzzle hunt, and I think you did too, Nick.
Yeah, I had an amazing time. I'm not a huge puzzle hunt solver. I've been getting into them a little bit more myself. Daro Caro's puzzles, though, and this entire puzzle hunt was a great introductory puzzle hunt for me. I did some of the MIT puzzle hunt. I did some of the other bigger ones with Anthony and his team. And a lot of the times I felt overwhelmed. This one is just one that I loved so much that I felt like I could get through every single puzzle and just had a fun time solving it. I definitely subscribe to the updates because I want to see when they're doing another puzzle live again because I would love to try this one live.
I think especially for it being the first puzzle hunt that they've put on, I think that they did a absolutely stellar job. And most of the comments that I've heard from other people talking about this hunt as well, a lot of people feel the same way. So great job. My hat off to Daro and Caro. You two put on an amazing puzzle hunt, and yeah, we can applaud. So that wraps it up for our series of the Daro Caro's Pixar Puzzle Hunt. Nick, thank you so much for filming these with me. I had a blast just having somebody else to talk to about these puzzles, so I'm not just talking about it to a camera and thinking about it myself. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. I had a lot of fun doing them.
We'd love to hear your thoughts about this puzzle hunt and about our solve of it down in the comments section, so please leave us a message, and I try to read as many of them as I can and get back to as many of them as I can. So I appreciate all of the comments and all of the feedback that you guys give.
Also, comment if you want to see more of Nick in these videos.
So that wraps it up for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, everyone, and as always,
Happy
escaping.
escaping.